Hello. In this video I'm mostly going to be covering the three main types of movement that you'll require in Bulge and touching on combat. I'm just going to jump straight into a face-to-face game. I'll be covering the main play panel in another movie. So the first kind of movement I want to cover is moving one of your units into an empty area. Now I'm going to select this armor unit here, and the first thing you'll notice is the change in colour of the surrounding areas. The clear area indicates where you can move that particular unit to. The dark areas you can't move into. Now there could be a number of reasons for this, the most common being that it's simply outside of the maximum range of that unit. But sometimes it could be that the area is controlled by the enemy, is occupied by the enemy, or that there's a bridge that's being held by the enemy. But it's not essential at first to understand the reasons behind this, because the game does show you where you can and where you can't go. Now, the different types of unit and the different nationalities of those units have slightly different ranges of movement. For example, from the start, all the allied units can take advantage of what we call strategic movement, which means that along a road they can travel up to 3 areas in one go. I'll just demonstrate this with the armor unit. I'll move it 1, 2, 3 to Bastogne. Now you don't need to select each area along the route. I'll just undo this. You can just select your target destination. So let me just undo that again. So that was strategic movement along a road. But that's not the only way we can move. If I wanted to move this unit from Malmedy to Spa, I can go north through Eupen, I can go west through Trois Ponts, or I can go directly northwest over the river into Spa. Now ordinarily it doesn't make much difference which route you take, except when you're entering a battle. Then it can mean the difference between having support and having no support. So let me just demonstrate this and show you some of the options we're presented with. So selecting my unit and then selecting Spa as my target area, I'm presented with these 3 icons. Now the top one is indicating the road route via Eupen. The middle one is demonstrating the river route, and the bottom left is indicating a bridged river. Now in this case it makes no difference which one I choose, so I'm just going to go for the northern route. So that's how you decide on your route from one area to another. And let me just undo this again. Now what happens when we have an area with more than one unit in, such as the city of Verviers? When you select an area, every unused unit in there becomes active. So firstly, I'll select the armour and move it to Spa. Now I've got 2 routes there, and I'm going to take it through the woods for no particular reason. Now if I want, I can continue to move that army one more into Trois Ponts. So now I can continue to move any unused units in my original area wherever I want. So I've selected the infantry unit, and now I'm going to move it into Eupen. Once I'm happy with all my moves, I then end my turn by pressing commit. The next kind of movement I want to cover is an aggressive move from a friendly occupied area into an enemy occupied and controlled area. For this example I want to use the 3 units up here in north in Gemund, and I'm going to attack the 2 units in Montchaux. I'll select each Axis unit in turn and move it into Montchaux. Now you'll notice this panel that's opened up. This is the mini preview, a simplification of the situation within that area. At the top it shows the total strength of each side, and then below that icons representing some modifiers. For example, the Axis units are getting the benefit of artillery and the surprise attack. The Allied are getting the benefit of the woods. For those of you that want a little more depth before you make your decision, you can press this button here and open the full combat preview. Strength points, which represent both firepower and health, are now split between infantry and armour. Below them are the modifier icons. If you want to see a key of the icon, simply press the button. More thorough detail again is available in the help file. The top row shows positive modifiers. These will improve the attack or the defence capabilities of the unit they're applied to. The bottom row are negative modifiers, which naturally reduce the capabilities. This middle line is only ever of benefit to the defender. This is the terrain. Now terrain acts to absorb hits from the enemy, and different types of terrain can absorb a different number of hits. Imagine them like a shield, which is able to prevent a certain number of hits from getting through. This will become more obvious when we actually show combat. Below that is a graph representing the most likely number of hits and the result of those hits on the unit. Now this is not an exact science, but the wider the bar and the darker the number, that is an estimate of the most likely number of hits that set of units will take. If the colour of the bar is white, that suggests that the unit will retreat if it gets that number of hits. If it is red, or progressively darker red, then that unit will not survive that number of hits. If you're not happy to continue this battle, you can just press undo and return your units back to the starting position. But if you are happy, press commit and the battle will start. Now the battle has begun, and you can notice the terrain icons on the left hand side are absorbing some of the hits that would otherwise have got through to the allied units. Now unfortunately another hit did get through and did destroy an allied unit, as we saw there on the left hand side. A unit gets to fire once for every strength point it possesses, and again for every strength point it possesses it can take one hit of damage. For example, a unit with one strength point can fire once, but will most likely be destroyed if it's hit once. So that covers what happens when you move a friendly unit into an enemy occupied area and the resulting combat. The final type of movement I want to cover isn't movement at all. It's actually about what happens when you activate an area that already contains enemy and friendly units, such as this example in Beaufort. The allied unit has already been used, but the Axis unit is free to attack, and does. In this case, simply selecting the Axis unit and pressing commit will start the combat. So that's essentially the main ways you can move in Battle of the Bulge and the combat that can result. Hope this has been some help, and I'll speak to you in another movie.